Finding your purpose. Purpose, is this something that you find or is this something that finds you? How do you discover your purpose? How do you know that you're actually living your life on purpose rather than on accident? These questions and many more are going to be answered by one of our guests in this book, Finding Your Purpose, Living on Purpose Rather Than on Accident. Before I bring her up, I want to share with you that you have an opportunity to cash in on free gifts from our authors, including the person I'm going to be bringing up in just a minute, by going to actiontakerspublishing.com/purpose, actiontakerspublishing.com/purpose. And without further ado, I'm going to bring up our guest, Dr. Christy Matusiak. I love it that we're talking about this topic, Christy, because you shared something with me right before we got started. And I want to actually start right there. I want you to share with everybody, like, what the experience was in writing your chapter for this book.
So thank you, Linda, for having me today. And I'll absolutely share that experience. It was an amazing just discovery when I was writing this chapter. I feel like I have an amazing story to share as far as how I got into my profession, and I can share more details about that later. And then when you get the book, you can read all about how I serendipitously, a series of different events came through, and I, quote unquote, found my purpose, found my calling as far as my career was concerned. And as I was writing the chapter, when I got through all of that, I paused and said, but I'm not done. Because I have my series of other books and other missions and passions of mine that are coming through now, that I recognize on a deeper level that that's actually my purpose. And that was not what I had started writing my chapter about. So it was kind of a fascinating discovery along the way.
You know what I love about this? Because one of the questions I have had, like, along this journey myself, is like, do we have more than one purpose? And I believe that we have many, many, many purposes. We also have, like, reasons why we do certain things, and they can be littler things or grander things or what have you. And so with this discovery that you made, I got goosebumps when you mentioned this, because I was like, this is why I do what I do, right? Is to help people that when they share their story, they can make a different discovery or an additional discovery through that process. And so why don't you share with us, like, what's your thought on purpose in the first place? Like, what is purpose? How do I know that I'm living my purpose?
That's such an amazing question. And I've got so many different thoughts on it. And interestingly enough, I was away with a group of girlfriends this past weekend, and we talked about this because the topic of blue zones came up in those different areas of the world where people have such longer longevity and they live so much longer. Those individuals, those communities and villages have purpose, even if it's not what we think in our daily lives here as a purpose. Like, I think of my purpose as my mission and my calling and the passion and the work that I do every day with my patients. I'm a holistic chiropractor. So that's what I think of when I think of purpose. But another person's purpose might just be getting up and getting water from the local creek and bringing it to the village. Someone else's purpose might be getting up and serving their community food. And it's really such a personal and beautiful opportunity that we all get to have, is what actually brings us that level of fulfillment and that deepest level of purpose. It sometimes is bigger than us. Sometimes it's small, and that's okay. It's really just, I don't know. It's a fascinating concept. I used to be one where, because I feel so lucky and so grateful to do what I do for my career, and it's something that I love so much, I also almost for a long time used to think that everybody needs to do what they're passionate about for their career. But that's not necessarily true. As long as you find that level of purpose and fulfillment in other areas of your life, that's really all that matters to me.
No, that's a great point there, because I know that, I had 49 jobs in 36 years. So I was constantly looking for, like, my place, like where I belonged and what my, fulfilling that purpose. And I remember when I became an entrepreneur, one of the things I said to myself is, like, I have no purpose. I have no value. I have no reason for being here. Like, I was so just filled with a lot of anger and hate, especially towards myself. And so being on this journey to this path of discovering of, like, whatever this is, whatever this whole planet is all about, has been just an incredible journey for me. So I would love for you to share with us, like, how did you get into what you do? And what is that, like, what was that new epiphany, that new purpose that you're seeing as you were writing that chapter?
Yeah. So when I start my chapter, I talk about how I ended up finding my career of chiropractic. And I won't do any spoiler alerts, so you guys can go ahead and get the book and read the chapters yourselves. But I had, when I was in my undergraduate program, I didn't know that chiropractic was a thing. I'd never heard of it before in my life. I didn't know that holistic work was a thing. And especially when I was going to school, people thought that mind body connections and spirit and all those kinds of things, it wasn't a thing. And now it's much more mainstream. So when we talk about those things, people get it. But back when I was going to college, it just was not popular and no one recognized what that meant. And so I share my story about just how I ended up finding it. And it was serendipitous. It was kind of the beautiful kind of fate coming in and helping me out along the way. I worked for a pharmaceutical company, and just little events along the way led me into finding my mentor and now doing what I do now. I'm just so, so, so grateful to do all those things and to have had those experiences, meeting this chiropractor, seeing how he did his work, recognizing this is everything I ever wanted, but didn't know it existed until it was just kind of presented to me. So I think it's an amazing story. Of course, it's my story, so I feel that way about it. But then as I was just writing through and I completed that part of it, I went, I've got about 1,000 words left to go. And I recognized that, of course, my story is not over. I can share here that I have another book that I've come through. It's called Coordinating the Chaos. You can see my little sign back here. I'm the chaos coordinator. I have 3 boys. We were talking before we got on that I thrive in chaos. Chaos is just the state that I live in with 3 boys. And the book that I initially wrote, Coordinating the Chaos Through Birth and Burnout, is more geared towards the newly postpartum woman who is suffering and struggling with finding her identity and balancing her hormones and trying to figure life out in that chaotic state where you've just been thrown into the wolves and you don't know what's next. And that's become my newest purpose, is really like going through it myself on every single level. And of course, that's the first book, because anyone who's a mom out there knows chaos doesn't end in that first year or so of life. It just grows and morphs into different things.
That's for sure.
And so right now I'm in the middle of writing part 2, which will be the coordinating the chaos through toilets and tantrums and things of that nature. And then we'll go back through and do a different stage of life. My plan is to always stay a stage ahead of where I'm writing so I can speak intelligently about it from a personal perspective, and then share patient stories and patient perspectives, really all in the spirit of holistically supporting moms in their journey of chaos and supporting the children too, because we can only help them so far as we help themselves.
First of all, thank you for the work you do, because, just raising children alone, I mean, it doesn't matter how many there are. It doesn't matter, boys or girls. It's work, right? And there's not really a guidebook out there that's going to be perfect for every single person, because every situation is different. But something came to mind when you were mentioning that, like finding this new, it's not like a new purpose. It's like an additional add-on, to the purpose you're already serving. You're using all of that, the knowledge that you have, that it's bringing you into that, and all the different people you've met in your life and everything. And so this aha thought came to me of, when we have that twinge inside of us, that's saying, this is the thing. Hello, I'm presenting myself to you. Hello, are you listening? How scary is that? Like you've been doing something for so long, and then something new presents itself to you. So is that a scary situation, or is that an excitement? What do you experience when you have something new presenting itself to you?
For me, it's a scary experience for sure. And I love that the name of your company is Action Takers Publishing, because I'll admit I'm a procrastinator. I'm not an action person. So ideas will come to me and I'll just go, oh, well, that's nice. And I'll sit on it. And it's why I have a coach that is an action person, and she will stimulate me and push me into doing some things that might be outside my comfort zone. And so, heck yeah, it's scary. And oftentimes fear and excitement present in the same way physiologically in our bodies. And so it's through all the work that I've done and through being coached a lot that it's in the leaning in during those times and just seeing what the next step is going to uncover, because you will get more clarity. You will get more information once you do take that first step.
Exactly. And it's funny you mentioned that about Action Takers Publishing, the name. See, because I've been a procrastinator my whole life. And and I wanted to become an action taker. So I thought by naming it, I would attract action takers, which would help me to become an action taker. So it was like I was claiming that ahead of time, like a lot of people say to do that kind of thing, and that's exactly what's happened for me. It's been an incredible stepping into that, and I love the fear thing as well, because I broke through a fear every single day for a year, and what I realized in that is that just by changing one word, changing scared, fearful, anxiety, changing all those words that relate to fear to one word, excited. That might my thought was in my brain was that might change the way I see fear, and it really did move me into that. And so I get excited now when I'm feeling fear. I'm like, this is exciting. Like, this means something new is coming. I don't know what it is, and that's the exciting part, right? You're like embracing that unknown, just embracing that. And so you did mention the working with moms. And so I want to share that your free gift is the First Aid Kit Essentials List for moms at any stage. Share with us what this free gift is and why people need to download it.
Absolutely. So once again, I feel grateful to know what I know and do what I do, that all of my kids, they know me. When they get sick, when they get an injury, when they have any, medical ailment that comes their way, I don't have to rely on Advil. I don't have to rely on Tylenol to bring down a fever or, an antibiotic or something. I'll tell this quick story. Across all my kids, they're 13, 10, and 7. And only once in their entire collective years together have they ever needed an antibiotic. One time, one kid. And it breaks my heart because that literally just happened a couple months ago. And there's a whole story behind that. And if people follow me, they can get the entire story at another point. But for many, many years, none of them have ever needed that. Not because they've never fallen sick, but because I have all these other tools and modalities in my toolbox that I can offer them in their times of illness and in their times of suffering. And I do truly believe at my core, there's healing in suffering. So we do sometimes have to go through cathartic, not so pleasant experiences to come out the other side and having grown, having a lesson learned. And that still goes into how our bodies manifest illness and disease and health. So my gift is all of my homeopathic remedies that I recommend for basic ailments, all of the, natural oils and vitamins and things of that nature. And there's no one size fits all approach for anybody. What I do is so highly personalized. And so, of course, this is not a substitute for personalized medical care, but it's a fantastic substitute for, hey, instead of all these things that most people traditionally have in their medicine cabinet at home, put all this stuff in your medicine cabinet instead and see how much more healthy your family becomes in the process.
I love that because I believe in natural remedies. I remember when I got diagnosed with hypothyroidism, I think about 15 years ago, the first question, the first thing is the doctor wanted to put me on medication. And my first question is, am I going to die in the next 3 months if I don't take that medication? And she said, no. I said, I'm not taking it then, because I wanted to see if could be a natural way for me to move through that. And it ended up that it got worse and worse. And I ended up saying yes to the medication. It took me about 6 years to get there. And I bawled my eyes out because I had never taken any medication before in my life. And that was a hard move. And so like you mentioning, doing the antibiotics for your child, that when you have the holistic mentality, and just like making that move, like, how did that feel for you and for your child?
I mean, when I share this story, it's really, it was the right thing to do at that moment. Everything that I had done up till that point was helpful, but it was like, you got to trust your mom gut when these things happen. You got to trust your own gut when something's happening to you, that, all right, this was one of those scenarios that I needed to throw in the towel and just do it. And it was very difficult for the first couple of days. And then at the end of the day, I see patients that have antibiotics all the time, and we clean them up and we take care of them. And it's really a non-issue at the end of the day. So I brought that perspective back in. Tons of people are on thyroid, support. I myself struggle with some thyroid hormone imbalances, and I've been lucky enough to not have to go on medication yet. I've been able to manage it naturally. But it takes work, it takes education, and it also takes giving yourself a little bit of grace that when those things do come up, you process it along the way and then dig a little deeper to see what else is there for us.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Now, people can connect with you because you did mention that they can hear your story. You can connect with her and hear her story. So go to her link tree at Christy Matusiak DC, and that's ChristymAtusiak DC. Go connect with her on her link tree and just make all those connections. And again, I want to share with you that you can get your free gift of her first aid kit essentials list for moms at any stage at actiontakerspublishing.com/purpose. And Christy, it's been a pleasure having you. And I can't believe our time is already up because
I
I had a
know.
lot of questions for you. And this just the world of what you do. And I love how you didn't even know what chiropractic was. And here you are doing it. That's because we don't know everything. We don't know what
Yeah.
all is out there. We have to keep our mind, our heart, and our soul open to the different possibilities. I'd love for you to share with the audience, like, what would you like them to take away from reading this book, Finding Your Purpose, Living on Purpose Rather Than on Accident?
Oh, there's so many things to tell you in 1 minute. Honestly, I feel like the biggest thing to take home from this book with all the author's compilations in here is that the possibilities for your life are endless, and to never ever give up and think that you don't have hope or that you don't have a purpose. There's always something. And like we already said through this action piece, it's by taking small steps and just allowing something new to unfold that oftentimes we're going to be presented with our greatest gift and our greatest opportunity. We just have to be open to it and allow it, instead of holding ourselves back and holding the process back. Because sometimes we're going to find our purpose in the very last place we'd think.
Yeah, that's right. And if you have your mind closed, you won't find it. And then it'll keep beating you over the head over and over and over again until you finally, okay, I accept it. Right?
Yep.
Because some purposes can be very, very overwhelming or scary because it's a lot of responsibility, to live your purpose, right?
Absolutely. It totally can be. It really, really
Yeah.
can be.
Yeah,
Because then a
definitely.
lot of people rely on you. It's a lot of responsibility, a lot of pressure.
But accept
And
it. Just
exactly,
accept
accept it and have fun with it. And you know what? You're going to hit bumps and bruises along the way. And then you just get up and take some arnica and move on.
Exactly. Thanks so much for being part of this, being in this book, sharing your message with us, and just being, part of my life. I think you're an amazing, amazing woman. You're doing great work to help moms out there that really could use the help. So thanks again for being here. Truly appreciate you. And we're going to go on to just a quick commercial.
That's great. Thank you, Linda.
One of the things that I've personally found from my experience of working with Action Takers Publishing is that I've walked away with more friends than I had before because of the relationship that you build with the authors while working in an anthology. I think it's an amazing project to be able to get published. It's a fantastic way to get published the first time, and I've almost seen people who get hooked on doing anthologies because once that bug is bitten, you feel like you can release more and more and more and more stories, and Linda's got a bunch of titles that I think resonates with a lot of us who live in the real world.